It's your open source advocate, and today we're going to talk about scenes in Home Assistant and why they're useful. So when you talk about scenes, it's really important for you to understand that you can do a lot of things with Home Assistant. You can automate all kinds of things. You can set up automations and you can set up all kinds of cool devices and make things happen. But scenes kind of let you bring it all together and create exactly what it sounds like, a scene of those devices working together on a single automation to really make something very, very cool. So we're going to start out with my test Home Assistant setup here, and we'll talk about scenes and how to set them up. And then we're going to switch over to my production Home Assistant stuff, and I'll talk about a scene that I've set up and that I use every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. And we'll kind of talk about why I did them and why I use them and what they're good for. So we'll get into that right after this. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers and all of my patrons over at Patreon. Seriously, you guys make this so worth it for me to do these videos every week. I really truly enjoy it, and I just can't say thank you enough. If you're enjoying these videos, subscribe. Let YouTube know that I'm doing a good job by subscribing to the channel. Plus, you'll get notified when I have new videos coming out. And finally, if you're enjoying what I'm doing, give it a like. Just click on that thumbs up, and that way YouTube knows that you like it, and they'll pass it along to other people that might enjoy my content as well. I really appreciate it. Thank you again. Let's get started. When we talk about scenes, you want to go down to configuration, and then you want to look for the scenes section here in configuration. So it's right here below the automations. When you click on scenes, you'll generally find that there's nothing there yet because they don't have any default scenes for you to look at. But what you want to do is just click on this button down on the bottom right. We're going to add a new scene. You're going to give your scene a name. So new scene is fine if that's the only scene you're ever going to have, but if you really want to be able to find these things later as you're adding more and more scenes, you want to give them some kind of good information or good name. So in this case, I'm going to call this, let's just call it Light On and Roku Home, something like that. Now, I don't know that I can control the Roku this way, but we'll just use it as an example, and you'll kind of understand why later. Now, if you want an icon for the scene, you can set that as well. The icons are the MDI, so you do MDI colon and then whatever icon you want. So if you do light bulb, you'll see here at this end, the light bulb pops up, and if I erase any text there, it goes away because it doesn't know what that is. So if you type in fan, you see you get a fan. So there's different ones, and you can go out and look these up to the material design icons. They're available out there online, so you can just go look for them, and you can use any icon name that's there. Just type MDI colon and then the icon name, and it'll pop up over here. So pretty nice feature, but I'm not going to use an icon today. Just wanted to let you know how to do that. So we're going to add a device, and what happens is you add multiple devices to your scene. So all the devices that you want to control, you're going to add to your scene. Now the secret is you need the device to be in the state that you want it for the scene before you save your scene, because your scene basically says, okay, let me look at that device in that state when you click save, and it saves that device for that state. So for instance, right now my light bulb is turned off. So if that's what I want for my scene, that's fine. But if I want it to turn on, I want to make sure that it's in the state that it needs to be at. So we're gonna click here. We're gonna type light. Let's see, Shelly. Yeah, there we go. Here's my Shelly bulb, and right now it's off. So if I want to change this before I save the scene, I can luckily just click on this little bulb, and it comes up, and I can turn this thing up, and it turns on, and I can even adjust the temperature to make it cooler or warmer, or I can set it right in the middle. So, and the nice thing is when you do this, you see that little number pops up. So as you're setting these for your automations, as you're setting these for your scenes, you can make sure, like if you have, like in my bedroom, I have 11 Shelly bulbs that are set up for my wife to be able to take her photos for her eBay business. We set those to a very cool setting because she wants it very bright white, and then I set those to full on. But then in the evening, I have a separate scene called Relax that sets this down to something around 70 and sets this up a little bit warmer so that it's not such a harsh light. So I make sure that these are all set the same. I make sure all 11 bulbs have the same exact numbers. And then when I save the scene, it saves those settings so that when I call that scene later from an automation, it makes the scene go to those settings like it should. So you want to make sure you have these set the way you want them. So if I just say I want this to be at this brightness, and maybe I want it a little bit warm for this scene, Or if I'm going to do TV time, maybe I'm going to bring this way down. Maybe I don't want it off, but I want it pretty low so there's not so much glare. Then I can do this, but you see it shows that it's on, it shows where it's going to be set, so that's what I want, so that's great. Then you can add other devices. Now, I don't have a lot of devices in here. Unfortunately, this is just my test system, but I wanted to kind of explain that as you keep going, you just keep adding devices. So add all the devices to your scene, make sure they're set to the states that you want. So you can also add entities to your scene. So for instance, on the scene that I'm going to show you here in just a little bit, I have a projector. And my projector does not show up as a device, it shows up as an entity for some reason. And really that entity has a state, either on or off. So I basically just set the entity state to on, and then I add it to the scene. So that way, whenever I get ready, I can turn my lights down, turn my projector on, get everything ready. Now if you have an automated screen for a projector, you could have that also lower down at the same time. And then you can set a scene to kind of reverse all of those things as well. So that's kind of the idea behind scenes, is that you're setting up groups of devices to go into certain states, and then you use an automation to trigger that state. So I wanted to kind of show you this in the blank setup here. I just don't have a lot of devices, so I'm going to switch over to my production setup so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So this is my production system. Here you can see what I've got going for my dashboard. This is really what I use every day in my home. And I'm going to go down here again to configuration. And I'm going to go over here to scenes. And here you can see I've got quite a few scenes set up for different things. So I'm going to enlarge this just a little bit for those of you looking at this on like a mobile device, just to make it easier for you to read. It's not going to be great if we're trying to edit in this mode, but we'll look at it for this view. So right here you see it says eBay Photos. And this is really just a scene, and it's a button that I've put on my dashboard. So when I go back to my dashboard here, you can see right here I have this one called eBay. And you see I have eBay's photos, I have relax master, I have master off, and then I have sconces on, sconces relax, and sconces off. So basically these are 6 different things that I can do in my master bedroom, which again is where my wife currently works. And she takes photos during the daytime while I'm out here in my office. And then at night we want to relax a little bit. We take those lights to a warmer state. The sconces the same way. We have a couple of sconces on the wall. And I'll get videos and pictures for all of you guys to see what's happening here. And we'll talk about this. But this one, I have a scene set. So each one of these things calls a scene so that I can actually do something with these lights. So when I go back to my scenes over here, I go configuration, and we go down until we find scenes. So this is kind of how it looks on your phone if you've ever looked at it. It's really all just one column of things. But right here, eBay Photos, let's just look at that one. So we're going to go edit this guy. And right here you can see Shelly Master Bulb 1, Shelly Master Bulb 2, so I just named these things, so it's in my master bedroom, and it goes all the way down, and my naming convention probably changes halfway through, but you can see all of the bulbs that I have set up in this room. I mean, it's ridiculous. So it's a lot of bulbs, but they all run individually and separately, and you can change the brightness and the color and the tone and everything of these things. But if I click on this thing, it's going to activate that bulb, so I got to be a little careful. You can see my wife asking me, did I turn on the lights? So let me answer her real quick. So this is what it looks like, and when you go into these scenes, it turns the scene on, so you can see what you're working with for the scene. So really, this is very, very simple to do. So when I show you this other scene, it's going to click on, and she's gonna realize that I did something again, and she may ask me about it. I'll try to warn her ahead of time. But here you can see that I've got all these things set, and they're set in a certain state. So you see I've got here eBay Photos, I've got master lights off. So after she finishes with her photos, she can turn the lights back off with a single scene. She just touches a button on her phone and it turns them back off, and really the switch stays on all the time. If you turn off the switch, there's no power to the bulbs, they don't respond, so I just told her don't mess with the switch, so she doesn't. The master off, same thing. This is just another scene that does the exact same thing. So Relax Master just takes all those bulbs, turns them down to a lower brightness, and then warms up the color in the bulb. And what you can do with the devices in a scene is very much dependent on the device itself and what the manufacturer has exposed for you to be able to change. But these are pretty nice bulbs. I like them. They're great. The Shelly stuff is really cool. I'm not sponsored by Shelly. I just happen to like the stuff that they make. So the same thing, sconces, I've got the same thing. So you can turn them on all the way bright, or you can turn them on to a relaxed state, which is pretty dim, but you can see your way around the room without tripping over something, which is great. So I've got this one called TV Time. This is the one that's going to turn on my projector, and it's going to do a whole bunch of stuff. So right here, if I click it, it's going to go on. Now you don't want to go here to do this. You want to actually go into an automation and call this thing. So we'll talk about how you do that. It's gotten much easier than when I started. When I started, you had to do some configs, some YAML configuration stuff to make it happen, but they've actually gotten it now to where it's much easier, which is great. And just with every release with Home Assistant, it just gets better and better, so that excites me. But yeah, I want to show you this one just so you can see what it's about. So it's going to trigger it. So my wife might ask me about it again here in a minute. So you see I get this little thing that says something didn't work, but it functions every time, so I'm not sure why I continue to get that. Just if you see that when you're adding a scene, it's worth looking at to try to figure out what happened. But here you can see I'm taking all of my sconces, I'm taking all of the bedroom lights, and I'm turning them off. But then I've got this Roku in the bedroom that I'm trying to set to go to a certain state as well. And then I've got all these light bulbs that I turn off basically when this happens. So the lights turn off, the Roku kicks in, and then I've got this Epson projector, which is not really a device. It really is an entity. I have to add it under the entities, but then it shows up here once I've added it. And I set that to an on state. So this is just my Epson projector, and it goes into an on state. And so everything kind of just functions together as a scene. So I basically trigger this thing, and I use a Shelly button to do it. I also have a voice command set up through Siri to do the same thing, so that I can get everything set. But I'll show you the automation that I use here for the bulb, for the button. So we'll just go down through my automations, and I've just got tons of automations. I could probably go back through a lot of these and clean them up and make them a little bit more sleek, but you know, I've got them, they work, I haven't messed with them. So this is called Master Bed Media On. So I'm just gonna edit this automation right here so you can see it. There's the name. I don't have a description. It's a single single default kind of automation. And then it's enabled, of course. And then my trigger is an MQTT message from my Shelly button. So here's my Shelly button. Here's my MQTT. So I call out that I want to send an MQTT message from the button because it's a battery operated button, and I've found that MQTT is much more reliable than just using the Shelly built-in stuff on those buttons. I don't have a payload, but in this case I am looking for a single click. So this is how you look for a single click from that button, and I've done this on another video. I've talked about how to do this. So it's a template, and then this is what it looks like. So it listens for this message whenever I send out this MQTT message that it's looking for. And then down here in the actions I say call service. So this is how you call a scene. You say call service, so you just select that from the list, and then the next thing is it's scene.turn_on. So this is in the list. It's a little drop down list here, but you look for scene.turn_on and you select that. And then as you move down, there's these different targets, and really what you're looking for is this one that's called TV Time. That's my scene name. So there's other stuff here. Right now I just call this scene name right here called TV Time, and basically that says, oh, okay, I want to go and call a service to turn on a scene, and the scene that I want to turn on is this one right here called TV Time. Now, even if you're trying to turn off devices, so like my Shelly bulbs, whenever I have master off, when I call that service, which again is an automation, so it's got a button trigger, so I'll go back and show you, but this turns on all of my media and everything. This is a scene. This is the benefit of scenes, is that you're putting together a lot of things and then using an automation to call that thing. So we're going to go back to my main system here, and I'm going to leave it large. I apologize. I know it's massive like this, but we're going to go to eBay here, and we're going to go into edit mode, and we're going to edit this. Now I have this set up with grid cards, so don't be thrown off by the way that it looks. But what we're interested in is the information down here on these cards. And you'll see I've got this scene.ebay photos. So that's the thing that I pick for the entity. I'm going to pick a scene.ebay photos. And then down here I've got the name, which is optional, and then light bulb is the icon that I want. So I could change this to something else if I wanted a different name for it, but this is perfectly fine for now. And then I've got call service, so I picked that from the drop down just like before. Scene.turn-on. And then down here, this is the name of the scene again. So I'm just setting up a button inside of my user interface on Lovelace to do the same thing, to call a scene. Now I've got the one that's called sconces off, or master off in this case. So I've got this one called master off. So this is going to turn off all of my bulbs. So I call it scene.master-off. This is what it's called. And then I gave it this name, master off. And then again, here's the icon. And then right here, I'm going to say call service. Now look, I'm turning my bulbs off, but you still call the scene.turn-on because you're turning on a scene. The scene sets the bulb state. So you're turning on a scene that sets the bulb state to off. So it took me a minute to kind of figure out, like, there is no scene.turn-off. It's just scene.turn-on, and then you have to set your state of your devices individually in the scene still. So kind of wrap your head around that a little bit. It's a little bit odd, but then I call the scene called master off. So I created a scene called master off. It turns off the lights, and basically that scene sets all of the lights to an off state. And this is how you call it. So when you're talking about scenes, again, when you're setting up a button, when you're setting up anything, if you want to turn something off, you need to set up a scene where it's off, save that scene, and then you call the service scene.turn-on, and then you're using that to call the scene where you set everything into an off state. I know that's a weird way to think of things, but it does work. And once you wrap your head around it, it really is useful, and it makes it very easy. The same thing with this one here. In fact, if we go here and we look at number 3, that'll be sconces off. No, that's full on. Let's see. Oh, I didn't change tabs. There we go. Sconces off. Same thing, right? Call scenes or call service scene.turn-on. And then I'm calling the scene called sconces off. So if you look here, there is no scene.turn off. Let's see, scene.turn, maybe. Oh, there we go, turn. See, there's only turn on, there's no turn off. You don't have an off option. Let's just see if we can find off. Off. So there's automation, turn off, right? So I don't know exactly what that does. Camera turn off. I mean, you've got a lot of little things here for turn off with entities and stuff, but nothing for scenes. So when you want to call a scene, you have to call scene.turn-on. And then you call the scene that you want it to turn on, and that scene may be setting things into an off state, but you're calling a scene, and that's a group of entities or devices. It could be one device if that's what you want, but it's usually a group of devices you're trying to control with a single action or trigger. So scenes are really useful. Scenes are really great. I've tried to give you a couple of examples here, in which case I'm controlling a whole bunch of bulbs at once, or I'm turning off my lights and turning on the projector and getting the room ready for us to sit down and watch some TV in the end of the day. You can use these things for just so many different things. If you're wanting to lock down your house at night and you have automatic locks and an alarm system and all of your lights and things like that, and you know everybody's gone to bed, and you just want to push a button and have it all locked down, you could do that. If you control all those things through Home Assistant, you could set up a scene where you lock the doors, you set the alarm state, you turn off all the lights, you make sure the coffee pot is ready to go for the morning. All the things that you may want to do, you basically can set that to happen with a single button click or a single touch of your screen on your phone, or even your voice if you set up the voice assistant stuff to go with it. I use the iOS version. If you're using Android, you could use the Google Home stuff. If you're using the Echo version, it could be Alexa. It just depends on how you want to set these things up and what kind of integrations you set up. But really and truly, scenes give you a ton of power. A ton of power inside of Home Assistant. So I highly recommend checking them out. Check out the documentation on the Home Assistant site. Set up a couple of scenes, get used to it, understand what you can do with it, and start thinking through some of the scenarios of the things that you do every day where it's very manual. And even if you don't have smart things for those scenarios that you do today, you may have smart devices in the future where you're saying, you know what? I'm going to buy something to make that easier. I'm going to buy some smart locks so I don't have to go and manually lock all of my doors every night. I'm going to start buying smart switches so I don't have to go turn off all the light switches every night. I'm going to go purchase who knows what to make your life easier. This is the whole point of home automation. You may want to automate your blinds or your curtains or who knows what. I mean, little by little, I'm building out my home automation. Home Assistant has been super stable and super great for me so far. I have not hit something that I've been like, oh, I hate this. I'm pretty picky about what I use, but I'm also willing to try new things and see how it works, because Shelly was just a suggestion somebody else had on their YouTube channel. I'd never heard of them. I ordered from them and I love their stuff. I love what they're doing. I'm really, really excited to see if they're going to come out with a doorbell at some point, because I'll tell you right now, a locally run only doorbell would be absolutely wonderful, and I think they're the company that could really do it. Ring has been great, but I'm ready to move to something newer and try something different. Anyways, I ramble on. So that is scenes with Home Assistant. I hope you like that, and I will make sure to get some footage to put in as well so that you can see when I actually do these things what it looks like and how it functions there inside of my house. Don't forget about the giveaway coming up on July 10th. So I'll be giving away some really great stuff for home automation with Home Assistant, and you'll be able to get set up and running if you don't already have it going. If you do, then you can use this stuff for something else if you want to. Maybe you want a second setup. Completely up to you, but I'm going to be giving away Raspberry Pi 4 with 2 gigabytes of RAM on it, the HDMI to micro HDMI cable that you need for that thing, the SD card, 64 gigabytes with Home Assistant pre-installed. If that's what you want, I will ask each of you to make sure before I do that, but I will absolutely do it for you if you want me to. And then I've got 4 Shelly Duo light bulbs, just like the ones that I'm using, that you guys see with these scenes that I've set up and stuff. I've got 4 of those to give away with this kit, and also a Shelly button that I've shown in a few of my other videos that you can use to trigger these things. So I'm pretty excited about this kit. I haven't been able to do a giveaway until now, and I've got almost 20,000 subscribers, so I want to say thank you so much to my subscribers, my patrons over at Patreon. I appreciate it so much, and if you'd like to support my efforts over at Patreon, please look down in the description below and jump over to Patreon and start supporting. It helps me keep these videos going. It helps me do these giveaways like this. I'm just so excited to be able to do this and so happy to be able to do this. I just can't tell you guys how much I really appreciate everybody watching the videos, and I hope you're enjoying it. Truly do. I've got 4 of those kits that I was just talking about. I've got 2 for the Europe or 240 volt part of the world, Europe, Asia, pretty much everywhere that's not the Americas, I guess you'd say. And then I've got 2 kits for the 120 volt part of the world that I'll be giving away that's exactly the same, except it's made for 120 volt systems. So if you want to win, jump over to discuss.opensourceisawesome.com, join my RocketChat server, and then join the channel I Want It, and put in there what your voltage is in your country so that I will be able to set you up on the list to win. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it so they can come along on the journey with us, and I'll talk to you next time.